mean, it's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of questions and conversations about who will manage after him, who will manage in 1989, and we just have to put those off for as long as we can. We're going to be looking in our farm system, which is the way I really like to go. But I don't close the door, somebody else coming in from the outside. But again, that's a decision that we can wait for a whole year to make. I got to worry right now about winning in 1988, and that is my first and only priority as of this moment.
So Davy Johnson today made a statement. It was issued by the Mets, Frank Cash and Jay Horwitz. It said that Davy Johnson's out after next year. He will fulfill his obligation next year, and then he will move upstairs.
Davy Johnson with a record of 386 victories, 260 losses, the best record of any Mets manager and the best record over 4 years of any manager in the major leagues. Randy O'Neill on the mound. He has a record of 4-2. He's 1-0 against the Mets, an earned run average of 5.61, and making his first start for the St. Louis Cardinals. He has worked 61 innings, given up 79 hits while walking 12 and striking out 25.
And for the Mets, it'll be Lenny Dykstra, Keith Miller, Dave Magadan. The middle three, Howard Johnson, Mookie Wilson, and Barry Lyons. And the bottom three, Mark Carrion, Kevin Elster, and then Rick Aguilera.
And the defense, Dreesen at first, Lawless playing second base, Oquendo at shortstop, Pendleton at third. In the outfield, Green, Johnson, and Lindemann. Left to right, the catcher is Pena. And the leadoff batter for the Mets will be Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra hitting .286. He has 10 home runs, 43 runs batted in. So the next to last game of the season, the Mets tied for second with the Montreal Expos. They both have won 90 ball games and lost a total of 70. And the umpires for this ball game, Charlie Williams behind home plate, John Kibler at first, Bruce Fleming the umpire at second, Jim Quick the umpire at third base.
By the way, we will hear from Davy Johnson as time goes along. We also interviewed him prior to the ball game.
And Dykstra fouls off a fastball to count 1 ball and 1 strike. Randy O'Neill came to the Cardinals from the Braves, where he had a record of 4-2. Randy, back on April 12th, made his National League debut and won a game against the Mets by a score of 12-4, working 6 2/3 innings in that ball game. Dykstra takes a fastball, and the count 2 balls, 1 strike. Randy pitched in the American League for the Detroit Tigers. Lifetime record of 14 wins and 5 losses. And the fastball again. 3 balls, 1 strike to Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra hitting .259 against the Cardinals this year as you look at Keith Miller on deck.
Well, Lenny Dykstra was a very hot commodity during the offseason. You wonder if he will be as hot a commodity, and will the Mets hold on to him for next year?
And this ball hit deep to right field, way back. Lindemann back to the wall, and it is off the fence. Dykstra on his way to second and holding there, and Lenny Dykstra with his 37th two-base hit, and that ties a Met record.
That's one of the reasons he's a very hot commodity. A good ball player, Lenny Dykstra, kicking that leg high, that front leg, and hitting the ball over Lindemann's head. Lindemann kind of cruising on back rather than getting back. I thought it had enough hang time for Lindemann to get back to the wall and make the catch. Here it is again. He's concerned about that wall, and obviously you have to be a little bit more concerned about the wall with the artificial surface, because you're not warned by the warning track as readily as you would be on a natural surface.
So the double by Dykstra, number 37, that ties Felix Millan for a club record in 2 base hits in this season, and it brings up Keith Miller. Miller hitting .363. And this one bounced over the pitcher's mound, picked up by Lawless at second base, and the throw to first for the out as Dykstra goes over to third. So the Mets with a runner at third base and 1 away, and the batter will be Dave Magadan. Magadan hitting .321 for the year with 3 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Cardinals playing their infield back. Pendleton at third base, not too deep at third. He would be in a position for a play at the plate if he so desired on a ground ball to him. Magadan in last night's ball game with a run batted in, 1 for 4. And he takes for ball 1.
Well, we mentioned earlier the Mets are tied with Montreal right now at 5 games apiece. And there's some second-place money on the line.
Mets not playing with their regular players in the lineup for the second consecutive day after the Cardinals clinched the pennant against Montreal on Thursday evening.
There's Darryl Strawberry right there. One of the guys who not playing. I'm surprised Darryl doesn't get in there and take a shot at the 40 home run barrier.
Darryl with 39 home runs, 103 RBIs, also a chance to break the Mets record for runs batted in a season. Rusty Staub and Gary Carter with 105. Swing and a miss in the count, 1-2.
Off-speed pitch right there from O'Neill. When you watch Lenny Dykstra hit before, he kicked that front leg up in the air. I think Lenny might start seeing a lot of off-speed pitches. When you kick that front leg up in the air, you got a tendency to jump at the ball and be way out in front. There's Lenny.
Two pretty good hitters hit that way. A great home run hitter of Japan, Oh. And that ball gets away from Pena, and the Mets will get a run. So it's being scored as a pass ball as Dykstra comes in from third, and the Mets have the early lead.
Tony Pena with the glasses on. If he was an amateur player 20 years ago, they'd never sign him because of those glasses. It was a pass ball. Remember when they wouldn't even look at a guy if he had glasses on. Although there was a great player who was in the Hall of Fame named Chuck Hayfie, and he had to go to glasses because of a sinus problem. And he's in the Hall of Fame, probably the only guy that wore glasses in that period of baseball.
First to wear glasses, a shortstop by the name of George Toporser, who played for the St. Louis Cardinals. And he was playing, I think, before Hayfie. Hayfie was in about that same era. Hayfie, a great outfielder.
But remember, I mean, they would immediately say when a guy had glasses, well, he might not be able to see the ball very well.
Of course, they didn't have the unbreakable kind in those days, so it was a little dangerous to wear them. Ground ball to the second baseman, Lawless, and he picks it up and picks up the out.
Almost threw it away.
First base almost threw it away is right. So 2 men out. Leading 1-0.
Here's that play again. Lawless, a utility player playing second base, throwing that ball high release point, obviously, and Greason making the catch. Tom Lawless even has worked catching behind, getting behind the plate, becoming a catcher. How about Jose Oquendo with the Cardinals? He wants to catch because he's played all the positions except catch.
That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Howard hitting .264 for the year with 36 home runs, 98 runs batted in. Holds a record for the National League. Most home runs in the season by a switch hitter. Breaking a record held by Rip Collins, who played here for the St. Louis Cardinals. Collins had that record back, setting it back in 1934 when the Cardinals were the world's champions over the Detroit Tigers. And this ball grounded foul. Johnson with 98 runs batted in, a member of the 30-30 club. If he would come up with 100 RBIs this year, he would be the first infielder to have 30 stolen bases or more and 30 home runs or more.
Can't get him out of the lineup.
Johnson with 3 home runs against the Cardinals this year. And Randy O'Neill missing with a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. O'Neill last year for Detroit with a record of 3-7. Pretty good last year with Detroit, now with the St. Louis Cardinals, and that pitch a ball, 2-2. Another big crowd here at Busch Memorial Stadium.
Whitey Herzog. Whitey's happy about the crowd.
Struck him out. So the Mets get 1 run on 1 hit. They lead on the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Mets won, the St. Louis Cardinals coming up. Rick Aguilera on the mound for the Mets. He has a record of 10 wins, 3 losses. Earned run average at 3.80. Rick has worked a total of 109 innings, given up 122 hits, allowing 12 home runs, has a record of 1-4 lifetime against the St. Louis Cardinals.
And here's the St. Louis Cardinal lineup. Lance Johnson leading off, to be followed by the catcher Tony Pena, Terry Pendleton, the third baseman, the middle three, Dan Dreesen, Jim Lindeman, and David Green. And the bottom three, Jose Oquendo, Tom Lawless, and Randy O'Neill.
And the defense for the Mets, Magadan at first, Miller playing second, Elster at shortstop, Johnson at third. Carry-on in left field, Dykstra in center, Wilson in right. The catcher, Barry Lyons, and the leadoff batter for the Cardinals, Lance Johnson.
Here's Lance Johnson. What a franchise this St. Louis Cardinal franchise is. And, of course, they're owned by Budweiser. In fact, when they clinched it the other night, August Busch walked into Whitey Herzog's office, and the first question Whitey asked him was, are you going to bring Spuds to the playoffs? Spuds McKenzie.
Center fielder, Lance Johnson.
Redbird, of course, the mascot of the St. Louis Cardinals. One of Tim McCarver's favorite animated people. Lance Johnson to lead it off. Lance hitting .218. He's had no home runs, 7 runs batted in. And Johnson, batting .333 for Louisville this year, was brought up on August 21st. At Louisville, he had 1 home run, drove in 49, but had 41 stolen bases. Rick Aguilera, 30 and 17 lifetime, and a good bunt. It'll be a base hit. Well, Lance Johnson, cut from the mold of the St. Louis Cardinal organization, great speed.
Well, he really does. Remind you a little bit of Vince Coleman. Excellent bunt. And, of course, he beats the ball to first base. Whitey Herzog loves that speed. That's why he likes Spuds McKenzie.
And that'll bring up Tony Pena, hitting .211 this year. 5 home runs, 42 runs batted in, wearing glasses, which he found out that he needed from an examination about a week ago.
I'm surprised he didn't go to contacts.
And he takes a fastball for ball 1. A lot of ball players do use the soft contact lenses.
I remember sitting in a meeting in Kansas City one time, and a coach, Don Menchner, who was a first baseman with the Minnesota Twins and a good hitter, we were going over the hitters, and the coach said, and he was dead serious, he said, pitch him down, he wears glasses so he can't see the ball. And Don Menchner was a good major league hitter.
He was that.
The coach is no longer up there.
There goes the runner, a late break, but the ball swung on and fouled off. That puts the count at 1 ball and 1 strike as Johnson, running with the pitch, has to return to first base.
If you're a catcher, you don't want to get traded to the St. Louis Cardinals, because if you're having a fine career, when you get traded to the Cardinals, usually you have problems. Tony Pena batting .211. Pretty good offensive and really a good all-around catch. He had trouble throwing this year.
And now Aguilera back to the plate with a fastball, and it is inside, so the count 1 ball, 1 strike. The Cardinals have had quite a few catchers of late. Darrell Porter.
Then they brought Mike Heath over from Oakland. Mike LaValliere, who's doing a fine job in Pittsburgh. And they traded for Tony Pena. And yet LaValliere is supposed to be a better thrower than Pena.
There goes the runner again. This one grounded out to the first base side. Aguilera covering at first base and taking the throw from Magadan. And the Cardinals with a runner in scoring position. Mets leading 1-0.
Gotta believe Tony Pena sooner or later is gonna have to cut down that swing in order to be more effective. Good jump off first base by Lawless. Pena hitting on top of that ball. Didn't really get around on the pitch. And Aguilera getting over, making a nice play. Well, he's gonna make an adjustment. He has a real big swing. As you get older, you have to make that adjustment.
Reactionary time of about 2/5 of a second. The time that ball is delivered to when it arrives at the plate. Now the batter will be Terry Pendleton. Pendleton with a fine year, hitting .287, 12 home runs, 95 runs batted in. And the first pitch, a breaking ball for ball 1. Most people look back to the Pendleton home run in the 9th inning at Shea Stadium that got the Cardinals tied in the ball game. They later won it in the 10th inning. The turning point of the season. That home run coming in that last series at Shea Stadium when the Mets lost 2 in a row to the Cardinals after winning the first game of a 3-game series.
I looked to the first day of the season as the turning point of the season when they didn't have Dwight Gooden in the clubhouse.
Of course, Gooden missing the early part of the year because of drug rehabilitation.
That put the heat on Ron Darling. Ron got off to a tough start, but he started winning. How about that? A bad break, Ron Darling getting hurt.
And Pendleton fouling off a fastball. Darling, of course, tearing a ligament and unable to pitch the last month of the season.
He was really pitching well.
Aguilera also on the DL part of the season. After he came off the DL on August 24th, he had a record of 7 straight decisions, just missing a Mets record set by Seaver, who won 9 straight game starts. Should say 8 straight game starts. That ball grounded to the shortstop in the dirt, picked out of the dirt by Magadan, and Pendleton is out as Johnson goes over to third.
Number 23, first baseman Dan Reason.
Here's that ground ball to Kevin Elster. Very relaxed fashion, throws the ball to first. Short hops Dave Magadan, who makes a fine catch. We take it for granted when we see Keith Hernandez at first base that that's an easy play, but anytime a ball's bounced in that dirt surface, it's a tough play for a first baseman.
That brings up Dan Dreesen. Dreesen hitting .241 for the year with 1 home run, 11 runs batted in. And the first pitch is a fastball for ball 1. Dreesen played in the minor leagues, was brought up by the Cardinals, and had a big clinching game against the Montreal Expos on Thursday. 2 balls and no strikes.
By the way, top of the first inning at Tiger Stadium in Detroit, the Blue Jays won, the Tigers nothing.
Tigers and Blue Jays all tied up with 2 games to play, and the fastball for a ball is 3-0 to Dreesen.
Of course, here in St. Louis, the news from Met fans, Davey Johnson, after next year, is quitting the managerial position with the Mets. What do you think the reason is, Ralph?
I really think he's just a little bit tired of second-guessing, being second-guessed.
I asked him that. We'll see the interview later on, and I've got to believe that takes its toll. I mean, he won the World Series last year and was second-guessed. He's second-guessed at all times by the newspaper, by the baseball broadcasters, by everybody. I'm sure his players, his coaches.
And the fastball swung on and fouled back out of play.
Of course, everything is magnified tenfold in New York. Greatest place to do anything if you're successful. And Davey's been a very, very successful manager. A couple years ago, I ran into Davey after a game in San Francisco, and he was talking about quitting then. I couldn't believe it.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Dreesen, and a high fly ball hit out to deep left field. Carrying back to the warning track, and he drops the ball. So a run scores, the game tied up as Dreesen goes into second, and it's tied at 1-1.
Well, the Cardinals scoring a run away. They've scored a run all year. A bunt base hit. The man advances a third, fly ball left field, and Mark Carrion unable to catch the ball. And an error on Carrion, and Dreesen on second base. Once again, another look at Carrion right out by the wall. You wonder what type of an effect it would have on a kid that comes into the major leagues playing on the artificial surface and going onto that rubber surface that is the warning track.
Now the batter will be Jim Lindeman, who had a home run in last night's ball game. Lindeman batting .211 for the year with 8 home runs, 28 runs batted in. Unearned runs scored by the Cardinals to tie it at 1 here in the first. And that pitch, a ball, 2 balls, no strikes. Lindeman hitting .333 against the Mets this year with 1 home run. He's had 8 hits and 24 at-bats against the Mets. 21 of his 48 hits have been for extra bases. And that pitch is a ball 3, 3-0. For the second time, Aguilera behind in the count, 3 balls and no strikes.
Davey Johnson, and it was interesting, Frank Cashin told Davey Johnson, you're going to have a lot of offers when you're through managing here. You wonder if he'll go to another team to manage.
I would doubt it. And the 3-0 pitch is a called strike, 3 balls and 1 strike. I really do believe that Davey Johnson is serious about not really wanting to manage.
Don't you believe everybody can be bought?
Well, I don't think they're going to raise the price a whole lot. And this ball hit high in the air, and it is up there. Howard Johnson making the call, and he makes the catch. That retires the side, but in the inning, an unearned run to tie it on a bunt base hit. The error allowing the run to score. One man left at second, and the score at the end of 1. The Mets won, the St. Louis Cardinals won. Mark Carrion coming in from his position in left field where he dropped that fly ball.
Didn't look like he had his sunglasses out there with him. Bill Robinson going over to talk to Carrion. Stay with him, he tells him.
And Mookie Wilson will lead it off for the Mets. Mookie hitting .297 for the year. 9 home runs, 34 runs batted in. On the mound, Randy O'Neal from the Atlanta Braves. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Randy's the guy who had the fight with Chuck Tanner.
He's a very hypersensitive. Is that a word?
It sounds good. Yeah, hypersensitive.
Type person.
You know, we saw Bill Robinson go over and talk to Mark Carrion. When you see a coach go over or another player go over to a guy and say, hang with him, you hear those words, hang with him, you know you did something wrong.
They go right with it, don't they?
Boy.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Wilson, and a ground ball foul. Well, both sides scoring an unearned run in the first inning. The Mets got theirs on a pass ball by Tony Pena, with Dykstra scoring from third after a double and a ground out. And the on-deck batter, Barry Lyons.
It's amazing how the people here in St. Louis were responding to the Mets after they beat the Expos.
Struck him out. So O'Neal picking up his second strikeout as Mookie goes for a fastball.
Good pitch right there from Randy O'Neal.
Batting 6th, number 33.
Another look. He has good stuff. It's just he had a problem with Chuck Tanner. Chuck wanted to send him to the minor leagues, and they had a shoving match, and they were going to throw punches. Bruce Del Canton told me he had to jump in the middle of it. He said he couldn't believe he had to hold Chuck Tanner.
That'll bring up Barry Lyons. Lyons batting .246 for the year with 4 home runs, 20 runs batted in. Lyons with 1 of his home runs against the Cardinals. Lyons in last night's ball game, 2 for 4. And a broken bat blooper down the right field side. It's foul. Well, Chuck Tanner is from a tough area in Pittsburgh, and he can handle himself.
It's tough to be a manager today. You lose all your power. You played when the manager had all the power, right?
Actually, the manager was really all-powerful when I joined the Pirates. He was even the guy that you had to really negotiate with on salaries.
Yeah, they've lost all that power.
Salaries are usually doled out on the recommendation of the manager. My first manager was Frankie Frisch.
So he had all the power there in Pittsburgh. Today, a manager, I would say, is quite powerless. I mean, players can say things and still exist with the ball club.
And a foul ball the other way as Lyons is out in front of a changeup. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I've seen managers have shouting matches with players in the clubhouse or in the dugout where 25, 30 years ago, that player would be history.
A lot of the Mets regulars sitting on that bench for a very important series for the Mets, fighting for second place. It's not really easy to understand.
No, of course, you know, the second place money, I guess, as far as the standards of players today, probably isn't that much when you compare it to the salaries that players can get today. Of course, it's a break for the young players, show their wares.
Struck him out with a fastball. So 3 strikeouts in a row for Randy O'Neal, dating back to the first inning.
Oh, another pitch, good fastball, right by a good fastball hitter, Barry Lyons.
Batting 7th, number 32.
That'll bring up Mark Carrion.
Mark Carrion.
Carrion hitting .250. No home runs, no runs batted in.
You know, Ralph, a game I thought that was very important for the Cardinals happened in March in St. Petersburg.
And And the first pitch, ball one.
They clobbered Dwight Gooden
in the very first spring training game.
Yeah, they clobbered him, and I thought back then that this is a confidence builder, even though it's spring training.
Pitch back to carry on, ball two. 2 balls, no strikes.
It's getting to a point, I think, where spring training can be important as far as certain clubs playing against each other. At one time, players would show up for spring training just to get in shape. Or did you ever show up in shape?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys I heard didn't.
I think that's over-exaggerated.
You think those guys you were playing with showed up in good shape?
Well, a lot of them couldn't because they lived in cold weather areas. They didn't go to areas where you could work out outside. Of course, I had the advantage of being from Southern California and could get in very good shape before spring training. And Carrion works out a walk, so the Mets have a base runner with 2 men out here in the top of the second.
Players, of course, even in the warm weather areas now, they go to health clubs to work out, and even have people go to their houses in California to work out. In fact, in New York, there's a place, Aerobics and More, a place on Long Island that does the same thing, getting players in shape. How about Rusty Staub? Rusty goes over to the Vertical Club there in New York to work out.
And also the New York Downtown Athletic Club.
Downtown Athletic Club, the home of the Heisman Trophy. Rudy Risk doing a nice job down there.
And Kevin Elster with a swing and a miss at strike one. Elster hitting .300. Actually, Elster hitting 4 for 5. That's .800. Since he came up from the minor leagues at Tidewater, he hit .310 with 8 home runs, 74 runs batted in, had 33 two-base hits.
I think it's pretty evident, at least the past couple of years, this is the kid that's going to play shortstop for the Mets next year. Santana, of course, has been playing in this kid's shadow for a while. It's amazing. Usually he's playing in Santana's shadow, but Santana in the major leagues was literally playing in Kevin Elster's shadow.
Santana having his best year in the major leagues, but really not able to nail down that shortstop job for next year.
They're going to try to give it to this kid right here, Kevin Elster. Everybody's high on him.
Fastball knocked down by the pitcher, and he hustles after it, throws to first base for the out. And that saves a possible run for the New York Mets. A walk and 1 man left on base. The score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Mets won, and the St. Louis Cardinals won.
Well, a bomb was dropped here in St. Louis by the Mets. Davey Johnson will manage next year, and he will retire from managing after next year. I talked to Davey about it before the game. Davey, the news release this morning, you're dictating your future now. You're going to spend 1 more year at the Mets, and then you're going to go into the front office. Is it a major surprise, do you think, to everybody?
I'm sure it is probably after the last month of coverage in the media, but you know, there's a lot of reasons for it, and I don't like to be considered maybe front office because I still want to be close to the field personnel, and I still hope I can hit a lot of fungos after we win it next year, you know, in the minor leagues and even on the major league level. So I'm looking forward to it.
Why'd you decide to quit after next year?
Well, I'm not quitting baseball. You know, I'm just taking another position in a great organization and with great ownership, and it's a solid organization all the way down. So I'm looking forward and helping in any capacity I can. There's a few headaches. I didn't take the managerial job to try to see how long I could hold it either.
And when you made the decision, was it recently after the Cardinals clinched it, before this clinching? When did you make the decision?
Well, the decision was made in my mind, you know, really early on this year, and I'd even thought about it last year. The only question I had is that if Frank wanted to do something with somebody else next year, I'd be amenable to that if that's what he wanted.
So you would quit right now?
If he wanted me to. He expressed the desire. He wanted me to come back, and so I'm tickled to death, and I'll be back.
Well, let me ask you, how about the second guessing? Would that drive you crazy enough to quit?
Not really. That's I think that's a part of baseball. It's an interesting part of baseball. It wouldn't be so interesting a game if everybody thought that the same thing should have been done all the time. I know it would be a dull broadcast, and plus the fans wouldn't enjoy it if I did everything right every time. So in their eyes, so I think second guess is good for baseball. There's a little bit more in New York because there's more people.
Well, Dave David Green striking out for the first out here in the inning. Now the batter is Jose Oquendo. Oquendo hitting .288 for the year. 1 home run, 23 runs batted in. Jose in last night's ball game 1 for 3. Oquendo playing every position this year, but the position of catcher. They were speculating on whether or not Whitey Herzog would let him catch an inning so he could play all 9 positions in one single season. Whitey Herzog said no, he would not catch because he was fearing the possibility of an injury to a very valuable utility ball player. And that's another strikeout for Rick Aguilera.
2 guys in the history of baseball have played every position in one game. Cesar Tovar of the Minnesota Twins and Bert Campaneris.
Playing each position 1 inning.
Yeah, and it's funny, they kind of would remind you of each other as ball players. One, of course, a second baseman by trade, Tovar. Campaneris, a shortstop by trade. Same type of build as Oquendo.
Now the batter will be Tom Lawless. Lawless 1 for 19 this year. Hard to believe you could play a full season in the major leagues and have only 1 hit. Lawless fouls off a fastball, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike.
He'll stay around, though, because he can catch. There's 24 men in a ball club now. The guy that can play many positions is going to last a lot longer. Although Whitey says he might go to 25 men in the playoffs.
He's talking about it, but he would have to get the approval of his boss, Fred Kuhlman, who is the man in charge of the overall operation, working out of the brewery of Budweiser. Ground ball to the first baseman, Magadan, who takes the play by himself, and the Cardinals go in order. The score at the end of 2, the Mets won, the St. Louis Cardinals won. Well, we're going to the top of the 3rd, 1-1 ball game here in St. Louis. Whitey Herzog sitting next to Jack Clark, his injured first baseman, has a sprained ankle, and it's doubtful whether or not he'll be ready for the playoff games. I'd have to think he will be.
It's ironic that the team he loathed, I guess the San Francisco Giants could be put in that category, and Jack Clark will possibly miss the playoffs against a club he was highly critical of.
Coming to the St. Louis Cardinals, literally for Jose Uribe.
David Green was in that trade, I believe.
Right, so was Dave LaPointe. Of course, they're all since long gone. As you look at Rick Aguilera take a fastball for ball 1. Aguilera with 1 home run this year.
When the Giants got David Green, they thought he was about 26 years old. What was he, about 37 when they got him?
Yeah, he's a Satchel Paige of modern-day baseball. A lot older than they figured. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Rick Aguilera. Aguilera hitting .237 for the year, 1 home run, 3 runs batted in. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Yeah, I mentioned Satchel Paige. I was reading about Satchel the other day, and of course in baseball, pitchers do a lot of running. He had 6 steps on how to stay young, and one of those steps was don't run at all.
And that ball grounded foul. I like the philosophy of Art Fowler, who said if running meant that much to pitching, Jesse Owens would have been a 30-game winner.
There's David Green right there, who was involved in that trade, bringing Jack Clark to St. Louis. I heard another great story about Art Fowler. Jim Sundberg, in fact, I had him on New York Sports Nightly the other night, talking about certain things that would be said to a pitcher on the mound. Jim Sundberg said that Art Fowler was the pitching coach for the Rangers when he was the catcher, and Art would go out and talk to the pitcher. Pitcher walk up to a guy and say, Babe Ruth dead. Throw strikes at this guy. Don't be worried about him.
3-2 pitch. Grounded slowly out to the third base side and on by Pendleton, and that's something you'll never see. Or at least see only about 1 time, as Aguilera ends up at third. Pendleton, an outstanding glove man at third.
And really, on a high hopper, unless it hits the dirt surface, it won't take a bad hop on you. Let's see what happens here. Almost like he lost the ball. Here comes Pendleton. Just define that. I'll tell you, the scorekeeper defined it as soon as it went by him. It was the quickest call I've ever heard. Up here in the press box, you could hear E5.
So An error charged to Pendleton. Puts a runner at second base with no one out and brings up Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra doubled off the fence in right field his first time up. Dykstra's 37th double of the year, tying the Met record, originally set by Felix Millan, and this ball grounded foul. One ball game. Each side with one hit, each side with one error. Each side with one earned run. 1 ball, 1 strike.
See if Lenny Dykstra kicks that front leg up in the air. He really kicked it up his first time up when he hit that double.
One of the great hitters, Mel Ott, used to raise the front foot straight up in the air and bring it back down. And a bunt attempt out to the first base side, fielded by Dreesen. He makes the tag, and Dykstra is out, but credited with a sacrifice.
Here it is again. Lenny bunting the ball a little bit too hard and too close to the first baseman, obviously. Dreesen making the tag, so we didn't see him lift that front leg up.
That'll bring up Keith Miller, and the Cardinals will be playing the infield in for a play at the plate. Keith hitting .375 for the New York Mets. And the first pitch grounded foul.
Is Miller ready for the major leagues? That's a question the Mets have to answer during the offseason. They have a guy who has had an outstanding year at second base, batting from the right side of the plate, Tim Tupper, who did the job against right-handers late in the year when Wally Backman went down. Wally, of course, had an off year this year.
And that pitch a ball, so they count 1 ball, 1 strike. Backman hitting at least 100 points lower than he hit last year when he batted .320.
Another guy that has been injured on and off during the season.
And this ball fouled down the right side.
But do you trade a guy like Tim Tupper, who's doing such a great job for you, to make room for Keith Miller? Or do you keep Tupper and trade the young second baseman?
That's why it's tough to be a general manager today.
You don't want to take a stand. You used to be a GM.
That is true. 5 years of it at San Diego and the Pacific Coast League. It was a very interesting job. I enjoyed it.
Well, what would you do in a case like that?
Well, I'm really not qualified.
That's why you do this, right?
That is right. Well, the one thing you have to realize, there's so much to think about. Salaries, long-term contracts, all those things enter into it. Pitch fouled back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I know one thing, and Frank Cashin is the type of person who also knows it. You can't stand pat. You got to move players.
So you think there'll be some movement this winter?
I believe there will be quite a bit of it. 2-2. Mets last year, after becoming the world's champions, made some moves when they acquired the contract of Kevin McReynolds. For one thing.
I wonder how many agents will go in and upset management around the major leagues. Of course, Al Harrison does negotiations with the agents for the Mets. I bet that must be a nice experience.
3-2 the count, and strike 3. Miller called out on strikes with a runner at third base and 1 man out. That might be one of the biggest things that has occurred for the Mets this year, leaving runners in scoring position with less than 2 out. That really wasn't in the strike zone. Bad call by home plate umpire Charlie Williams. But the old adage, if it's close enough to call, it's close enough to swing at.
You don't believe it, though, do you?
No, that sounds good, though. So the 4th strikeout for Randy O'Neal, and it puts it in the hands of Dave Magadan. Magadan hitting .319. Drove in a run yesterday.
It's funny, when you're a young kid, you really don't want to argue with the umpire either. You're almost intimidated when you first play in the major league by umpires.
And a ground ball hit slowly to the second baseman, fielded by Lawless, and the Mets don't score. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and 1 man left at third. The score at the end of 2.5 innings, it's the Mets 1, the St. Louis Cardinals 1. up at Montreal. The score tied at 4 in the bottom of the 5th inning as Montreal plays the Cubs. The Mets of Montreal tied for second place. And right here in St. Louis, it's 1-1 as we go to the bottom half of the 3rd. Beautiful day for baseball and a good crowd on hand. Cardinals will go over the 3 million mark with their paid attendance here today.
Leading off batting ninth, number 39.
Randy O'Neill will lead it off. O'Neill hitting 0-0-0 for the St. Louis Cardinals. His first appearance in a Cardinal uniform after coming to the Cardinals from the Atlanta Braves. And the first pitch by Aguilera called strike. One ball game, bottom half of the 3rd. Bouncing up the middle, and it'll be a base hit. So Randy O'Neill with a base hit in his first at bat for the Cardinals.
Kevin Elster unable to get to that ball right up the middle.
Johnson.
Artificial surface.
So a runner at first base with no one out, and Lance Johnson the batter. Johnson beat out a bunt for a base hit his first time up.
You know, one time, Ralph, when you look at Randy O'Neill, he's putting on his jacket down there at first base. At one time, when a player would have a problem with a manager like a Chuck Tanner, when they almost had a fight, the player would probably be blackballed from baseball. But today, another club picks him up.
Go to arbitration.
That's right. I mean, when you were playing, if a manager almost had a fight with a kid trying to make the major leagues,
it was practically unheard of because you could be put back in the minors. There's one down to Maggot, and he'll try for 2. Elster coming back to first base to Miller. And Miller taking a throw in a rather unorthodox move with the second baseman covering at first base instead of the pitcher.
yeah, you're not going to get this guy. He puts the ball in play. Forget it. You're lucky to get him at first base when you don't have to go for anybody but one. Here's Elster making a play. Elster looks good coming across the bag.
So the force out at second. Johnson exchanges with O'Neill on the bases, and the batter will be Tony Pena. Pena grounded out to Maggot in his first time up. And the runner going with the pitch. The throw by Lyons is not in time. And Johnson has a stolen base.
Barry Lyons getting some mustard on this ball as he's throwing to second base. Good strong throw just to the shortstop side. Elster getting over, catching the ball and playing tag, but Johnson obviously cannot run a baseball. He's like Coleman. Just what St. Louis needs. That's a good call, by the way, by second base umpire Bruce Froming.
Johnson getting his 7th stolen base, and the pitch now to Pena, grounded foul to the right side. Johnson had 41 stolen bases down at Louisville in the American Association before coming to the majors.
For Pena's size, well, he takes an awfully big swing. Would you try to change him?
I don't know if you can change a hitter.
You would allow him to keep swinging like he's hitting 211. I know he's been injured quite a bit this year.
Usually by the time you get to the major league level, you build in all your habits, whether they're good or bad. Very difficult to change.
You wouldn't try to get him to maybe shorten up in that swing? I'll tell you, he catches every day. And when you catch every day here in St. Louis, that takes its toll itself. If you have a swing like that, that's exhausting. Of course, he's been hitting like that since he was a kid.
Thou shalt not pass type hitter. Bible school. 2 strikes to count to Tony Pena. And a swing and a miss, and Pena struck out. And another big swing by Tony.
Well, he really does take a big swing, and you wonder when you have to make that adjustment. Obviously, you can't go your whole career as a catcher taking a swing like that.
So now 2 men away.
Catching takes its toll. You're emotionally drained dealing with those pitchers. You're physically drained catching.
Now the batter will be Terry Pendleton. Pendleton grounded out his first time up, and he takes the first pitch for ball one. Pendleton hitting .287, having a career year. 12 home runs is all-time high. 95 runs batted in, also a career high. Fastball fouled away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Boy, look at this Cardinal ball club and the history and tradition of this club. Imagine if this franchise was in New York with all the great players they've had over the years.
Certainly remember the Gas House Gang of the middle 30s, world's champions in 1934.
Do you know the Cardinal ball club for 1 year had more Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, than any other team, and that was 1933 Cardinals, and they finished in 5th place. They had 7 future Hall of Famers on that club.
1 ball, 1 strike, and a foul ball, 1-2. Well, the Cardinals in 34 had Frankie Frisch, a Hall of Famer.
Joe Medwick.
Joe Medwick, a Hall of Famer.
Dizzy Dean.
Pepper Martin on that ball club.
Was Hornsby on that club?
Hornsby was not on it. Frankie Frisch, the second baseman, a switch hitter in the Hall of Fame. Shortstop was Leo DeRocher. Had players such as Vic Orsatti. There's another foul ball, so the count stays at 1-2.
I guess the guy who really came up with the head first slide was on that club, Pepper Martin.
Pepper Martin, an outstanding third baseman. They coined the phrase, you got to have a strong arm and a strong chest to play third base. Barrel-chested third baseman Pepper Martin. Paul Dean, also a pitcher in that ball club, Dizzy's brother. And the fastball inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. They defeated the Tigers in the World Series, winning the 7th game behind Dizzy Dean. The score of that ball game, I believe, was 11-0. A game where Joe Medwick was taken out of the ball game for his own safety. He slid hard into third base where Owens made a tag, and the fans throwing garbage at him, and he had to leave the ball game as Judge Landis took him out of the game. Swing and a miss, and Pendleton is struck out. In the inning, no runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left on base. The score at the end of 3, it's the New York Mets 1, the St. Louis Cardinals 1.
Crazy Eddie's shredding prices. Thank you, Colin Baby, on anything and everything in TV and video during his TV and video blowout blitz. Go, Vaughn, go! Crazy Eddie's prices are insane.
Well, Steve Lake's new catcher for the Cardinals, and we got the big guys in the booth. 73rd and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, Rusty's Restaurant.
All right, Fran, good to be here. A little nippy out here today, but certainly a gorgeous evening for baseball, or day anyway.
And Howard Johnson takes a fastball for a strike. How's the restaurant going?
Restaurant's fine, Fran.
Good.
Everybody's holding up well. Weather's been good in New York.
Postseason play would have really helped the restaurant, though.
Well, it helped the whole city.
That's right. Next year, there's a shot foul off the bat of Howard Johnson. 0-2. Well, I saw you sitting upstairs just a few moments ago with Hall of Famer Bob Gibson. How'd you hit him?
I had some decent days against Gibby, but Gibby always got you out.
Did he ever throw at you?
Not really. Surprisingly, when you have a good day against him, you see Howard Johnson foul that ball off. He always used to be an intimidating kind of pitcher. He pitched me inside, but he never deliberately hit me. I was a little surprised. Certainly one of the greatest pitchers ever in the history of the game.
He was excellent. He was excellent. Hall of Famer. Has more stolen bases than any other pitcher in the history of baseball. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Hojo.
How many were there?
I want to say 17. He walked out of the booth. I'll have to ask. I believe it was 17.
You would know. You can bet on it.
And there's Doug DeSensei, who replaced Terry Pendleton at third base. 1-2 on Hojo. There's a fly ball right field. Lindemann is there, and he makes the catch. 1 down.
For the Cardinals now playing third base, number 10, Doug DeSensei, no bat second, and now catching number 25, Steve Lake, no bat third.
So 1 man down as Hojo goes back to the dugout. Hojo wants to have 100 RBI plateau right now at 98.
Right fielder Mookie Wilson.
Well, he's going to have a few more at-bats to get it. It certainly is an exciting year for Howard Johnson to have that opportunity. I was in that situation a couple of times in my life. In fact, when I was with Detroit, I got it the last day of the season against the New York Yankees.
There must be something to reach that plateau. As Mookie Wilson fouls the ball off. I fell short. They pitched around me a lot more than you, obviously.
Oh, it's a tremendous thrill. I don't care what anyone says. Certain plateaus in baseball, to reach them is a tremendous thing, not only for your own pride, but it's an accomplishment.
And Mookie Wilson hits one off the hand, shallow center field, and a base hit. So Mookie picking up his first hit of the ball game.
Smart hitting. Sometimes it's not how hard you hit it, it's where you hit it. Center fielder Lance Johnson certainly playing deep in this ballpark. Came up a little bit too short, I think. He might have had an opportunity to catch that ball.
So Mookie on first base, and the batter Barry Lyons. The Mets fighting for second place with the Montreal Expos. We're in the top of the fourth inning, all tied at 1 here at Busch Stadium. October 3rd, 1987.
Well, one of the things I'm a little surprised about in the fact that they are vying for second place, which means quite a bit to some people, not only in the organization, but the coaches, some of the players that aren't making the big dollars. I just really am surprised that that a lot of the guys have decided not to play at this time of year because the championship is out. In fact, I'm kind of a little bit aggravated by it.
Barry Lyons fouls a ball out of play.
I'm in the third inning in Detroit. It's all tied up now. Toronto 1, Detroit 1.
Well, with Davey, I've got to ask you this question. With Davey resigning, he's out after next year. I mean, everybody has talked about you as managerial timber. Frank said he's going to stay within the organization. Possibly might go outside.
Well, I think what Frank really said is he was going to stay in his, with his organizational people that have been managing in the minor leagues. He's going to look at them. Certainly, I have not tried to get that job, and I'm really working hard to be good at the job we're doing right here together. I got my hands full right here, pal.
Plus, it's better. You don't have to worry about second guessing up here.
Well, you can do it. You don't have to be the first guess.
That's right.
A lot of emotion for Davey Johnson making that decision. Sometimes it seems that things are forced when you've been around a while.
I'm going to wonder if our other colleague, Tim McCarver, might be interested in managing. Timmy at one time wanted to be a manager.
Well, Timmy certainly has done marvelously well in this booth.
Yeah, and how about yourself? I mean, you've always had a desire to manage, no?
Well, Fran, actually, that's something down the line. I don't even consider it right now because knowing Frank Cashin's feelings about guys being in the minor leagues and paying their dues, coaching and managing in those classifications, that doesn't seem like one of the things I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah. Plus, it's tough to run a restaurant from the dugout. 1-2 pitch is fouled off. Mookie Wilson on first base. We have a 1-1 ball game. 2 hits for the Mets, 2 for the Cardinals.
You saw a picture of Davey Johnson before. Davey Johnson, we were talking about the Mets trying to come out second. Davey Johnson has turned the reins over today to Bill Robinson. That's why Bud Harrelson is coaching at first base.
And Bill Robinson would like to manage.
He certainly is. He's going down to Winter League ball in South America, going to manage a team down there. I don't know exactly what city it's in, but Buddy Harrelson is coaching at first base today because Bill Robinson is the manager for the Mets.
There's a ball, throw to second. Mookie steals the base. So Mookie Wilson hustling down to second base, his 21st stolen base of the season.
Mookie Wilson, tremendous explosion. Pretty good quick release by Lake. He's been very successful this year in containing the base runners, especially in this era of stolen bases. But Mookie Wilson was just too much right there.
So it's 2-2 on Barry Lyons. Mookie Wilson on second base. O'Neill's pitch is blocked by Lake. But Lake has been important to this Cardinal ball club this year. Pena down with an injury early in the year, and Steve Lake really doing the job.
I can remember last year, Ed Hearn, when Gary Carter hurt his thumb, filled in for that 15 days that Gary Carter was on the disabled list and did a marvelous job for the Mets. The backup catching position can become extremely important for any club, especially clubs that have a chance to win.
Play right back to O'Neill. He looks Mookie back to second and gets Lyons at first. 2 down.
Good quick reactions by O'Neill. Catches this ball, really bounces, takes a look. I don't know about that toss to first base. You have that light lob like that. A lot of those have sailed over a lot of first basemen's head. I was over there for a few of them too. I don't know if that's as bad as the guy that catches the ball when he's close to you, gives you that real nonchalant look, and then he fires a seed at you about ankle high.
And handcuffs you. I know, that is tough. And now the batter is Rick Aguilera. Check that, Mark Carrion. Well, these day games after night games kill you. 0-1 on Carrion. Swung on and missed. 0-2. You know, looking at Mark Carrion, they kind of discourage hitters if you throw left-handed to bat right-handed, and the theory is that that left arm, since you're throwing the ball, is the arm you would throw the bat at the ball, and the other arm is the one you would guide the bat with. So they kind of discourage that type of hitting, although Carrion's done well with it. There's a ground ball to third. The Sensei throws it high, but Dreesen, doing the job, makes the play. So the Mets go down. They leave a runner stranded here in the top of the fourth, and after 3.5, we have a tie ball game, and they're tied at 1. Well, we're back live at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. If you just tuned in, you're watching all the action on Sports Channel. I'm Fran Healy, along with Rusty Staub, Ralph Kiner, and Tim McCarver away on assignment. And there's the Weber, Bill Webb, Middleton, New York. It's his chapter. There's Bill right there. He's out there with them.
All I can tell you is that's a tape that was brought along.
It had to be, huh? Had to be.
There's no screen like that around here.
He's starting to bring those sides with him on their own.
It's amazing. When a guy's a lame duck like that, he would just do anything.
That's right. We have to keep from nodding off downstairs. And the batter now is Dan Dreesen. He reached on an error by Mark Carrion. On that error, Lance Johnson scored. And that's how the Cardinals scored their run into first. It's all tied at 1 here in the 4th inning. This beautiful autumn afternoon. And you know, an afternoon game in autumn, I think of the World Series when we were kids, it was all the afternoon games. Listening to Mel Allen bring you all the action. There's Mel now, broadcaster with Sports Channel. In fact, speaking of the classics, October 3rd, 1951, that's October 3rd, right? 1987? Bobby Thompson hit his home run.
Is that right?
Yeah, and October 3rd, I believe, 1956, Don Larson threw his perfect game. I got to check with Ralph.
Just full of little tidbits today, aren't you?
I might be wrong. Ralph will let me know.
Keith Miller is certainly not wrong. He is playing way behind that stripe on Dreesen. I mean, really deep at second base.
He's challenging Bruce Fromming. Bruce is out there with him, and he played him perfectly. What a Keith Miller. He knows it all.
Well, when you have a slow runner on this turf, you know he's not going to really try to drag bunt.
Right fielder Jim Lindemann.
I used to wonder if the guys could see me at home plate. They used to play me so deep out there. I mean, 5, 6, 7 steps behind the white line. I'd go, what are you guys doing?
Were you ever tempted to try to bunt?
Oh, I had a lot of bunt base hits in my career.
I mean, when
most down the third baseline.
Well, how about when you saw them way back? I mean, at the end of your career, I guess they felt you couldn't run anymore.
Well, as you see a strike there, if I felt it was going to help the club by me getting on base, I would certainly attempt to do it. I didn't do it very often in a lot of part of my career because when I pinch hit normally, it was in a different kind of situation.
And there's a bouncer back to Aguilera. Easy play. 2 down. Sometimes those easy plays are the ones you make the error on. But Aguilera gets the runner, so 2 men down here in the bottom of the 4th. Once again, it's all tied at 1. If you just tuned in, Davey Johnson, after next year, will not manage the Mets. And on the interview here on Sports Channel, he said that if Frank wanted him to step down after this year, he would have done it.
No, he would do it.
Yeah, he would do it. Well, he would have done it. Whatever. Popped up. Kevin Elster makes the catch, and that'll do it for the Cardinals here in the 4th. 3 up, 3 down at the end of 4 in front of a large crowd here at Busch Stadium. It's all tied at 1. outfielder from Long Island. John Morris had a fine year with the Cardinals, and he moves to right field. And the right fielder, Jim Lindemann, moves to first base. Dan Dreesen jerked out of the game.
Wendy Herzog just giving some of the people who have been playing regular a chance to get a game in, keep their timing, then take them out, give them a rest, try to get them strong for this championship series against the San Francisco Giants.
Who you picking?
I don't pick, Fran.
You don't want to be involved in that, huh?
I think people that think they can pick it are overestimating their talents.
Yeah, but that's the romance of the game. No? You don't like romance.
Well, I think if you're going to analyze it, the Giants have to be the favorite.
So you pick the Giants.
I didn't pick them.
You don't want to take a stand, obviously. Popped up. Foul territory. Doug DeCinces, who came all the way from Anaheim for this game, made the catch. Now, he's really been here for a week. One down. Giants and the Cardinals will square off for the championship of the National League. In the American League, the Minnesota Twins are looking at that series in Detroit. The Blue Jays and the Tigers going at it today. They're all tied at 1.
As of our last report.
And Rick Aguilera hits a chopper to third. DeCinces bounces it, and it gets by Lindemann. E5.
It's the second throw in a row from DeCinces that he really did not put much on the ball. It almost seems as though his shoulder or his arm is hurting him.
Well, he's had a lot of back trouble throughout his career.
See Lindemann not coming up with the ball there. That ball is, I mean, that's a short hop right there. That's on the grass. It's a cool day. Might be used to that Anaheim weather a little too much. Got a little brisk here in St. Louis today. I got up this morning to fly in. I left New York. It was relatively cool in the 60s. Landed in St. Louis. It was 41.
Wow. Probably checked on a restaurant before you flew out here?
Not really.
No, okay.
Lee Tunnell warming in the bullpen now for the Cardinals.
As Lenny Dykstra steps in to face Randy O'Neal. And Dykstra fouling the ball off. 0-1 on the Mets center fielder. We were talking about Lenny's front foot kicking up off the ground, a la Sadahara and Nelat. I had the opportunity to interview Sadahara. And I asked him about when he first started playing ball, did they try to change that in the major leagues over in Japan? He said, yeah, they did. They tried to change it. See Lenny's leg here kick off the ground. Ball bounces off Steve Lake, and Aguilera goes down to second base as Lake slides into the dugout. I think Aguilera gets third, no?
No.
1 from the mound, 2 from the field to play. You're right.
I mean, there's been a lot of balls in the dirt today. Both Aguilera and O'Neal. That's a really tough play. Certainly reached across his body instead of moving his body. Usually leave you and Timmy up to make those decisions, though. Having been behind that dish so many times.
That blocking that ball is tough, believe me. You're supposed to try to smother the ball. Pitchers throw so hard now, it's almost impossible. We're going to see more wild pitches. As long as they throw that split-fingered fastball, we're going to see more wild pitches than ever before. Randy O'Neal goes to the set position, and the pitch to Dykstra. Again, a ball in the dirt that's scooped by Steve Lake. I'll tell you one thing, I'd hate to catch when they had those gloves at no break and you had to use both hands at all times. That's why those fingers, those old-time catchers, some ugly-looking hands. Supposed to get that hand behind that back. You want to look good. You want those fingers looking straight. Picking up your mail in the hotel lobby. 2-1 on Lenny Dykstra with Aguilera leading off second base. And the ball misses. 3-1.
First time up, if you missed it, Lenny Dykstra tied the record for doubles in the season. Felix Millan had the record before with 37. Dykstra got his 37th, leading off the game for the Mets.
So Lenny having another fine year with the Mets. Disenchanted in the fact that he's not playing a whole lot against left-handers. Inside, the Dykstra ball 4. So Dykstra goes down to first base, and the Mets have runners on first and second with only one man down here in the top of the 5th inning. Randy O'Neal will now pitch to Keith Miller.
Second baseman Keith Miller.
Second walk by O'Neill.
I think these fans here in St. Louis take this game seriously. How about the red sweaters and red shirts they wear to the ballpark?
This is just a great, not a good, a great baseball city.
And Keith Miller takes inside, ball one.
Certainly a great year for the Cardinals and the Anheuser-Busch people. Really own the club. And very community-minded for many, many years.
They've done a fine job here in St. Louis. Miller drives one into the gap, but here comes Johnson making a play in left center field. David Green backing him up. And the runners return to the bases. Keith Miller goes down, so he's 0 for 3 in this ball game.
First baseman Dave Magadan.
And with 2 men down, the batter will be Dave Magadan. Magadan in his ball game 0 for 2.
Jay Horowitz came in the booth before and told us that the National League has announced that Darryl Strawberry is the player of the month of September for the National League. Now Strawberry having a marvelous finish.
Ground ball to first. Lindeman takes it himself, and that'll do it for the Mets here in the top of the 5th. They fail to score. They leave 2 runners stranded at the end of 4 1/2. It's all tied at 1.
At Meineke Discount Mufflers,
I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler.
you're not going to pay a lot because Meineke's muffler prices range from $18.93 to $26.95 installed.
Well, Rick Aguilera, while warming up, had a call for Steve Garland and the acting manager today, Bill Robinson, Davey Johnson in the dugout with Buddy Harrelson.
Certainly some concern there. Aguilera having been on a disabled list for quite a while this year. Brought everybody out of the dugout.
I'd love to know the reasons Davey is giving it all up. A week ago, he wanted an extension. Following week after the team is eliminated, he announces his retirement a year from now.
A lot of emotion involved in managing, just there is in playing. It's been a tough season, a draining season for Davey Johnson. I just feel that decisions like that probably should not be made at a time like this. But Davey has his way of doing things, and he made his own decision. You've seen Vern Horscheit, who was retiring.
Yeah.
One of the really fine people I've met in baseball. Certainly one of the finest coaches of young catchers ever.
Great baseball man. Anyways, Aguilera is all set. Kendo hits a ground ball, second base, scored 4-3. 1 down. Kendo 0 for 2 in this game. Well, a lot of speculation, I'm sure, as to why Davey will step down. I guess managers. I asked Frank Cash before the game in an interview about manager losing a lot of his power when everybody knows you're out the following year.
Well, again, you can't just keep beating a dead horse. Davey made that decision. And the shot to third base, picked up nicely by Howard Johnson. Tosses over.
Well, the reaction is for this guy right here, Jack Clark. The fans are out here just enjoying this afternoon. Now they're coming alive for the most important player on the Cardinal Ball Club, Jack Clark.
I saw him have that at bat in Chicago when he pinch hit in a game in Chicago. He took his first swing and he actually fell down. Could not continue the time at bat. One pitch, one swing, and he was out again. Certainly, the fate of the Cardinals is going to be much better if Jack Clark is healthy, but he has not been at all, especially in this last 5 or 6 weeks.
He pops the ball up to first base. Dave Magadan makes the catch, and that'll do it for the Cardinals here in the 5th. 3 up, 3 down. At the end of 5, we're all tied at 1. Well, new pitcher for the Cardinals as you look at, is it Fred Bird or Red Bird?
Whoever it is, that's got to be the worst mascot I've ever seen.
Fred Bird, out here in St. Louis.
We have Lee Tunnell on the mound right now for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And Tunnell will pitch to Howard Johnson. Mookie Wilson and Barry Lyons here in the top of the 6th inning. We're all tied at 1. Swung on and missed by Howard Johnson. 0-1. Well, our final Sports Channel broadcast, at least as far as the Mets are concerned, and it's been a great year. We've had a blast doing the games. We hope you enjoyed all the action you saw right here on Sports Channel. 75 games. It's always a pleasure working with Mr. Staub, Mr. Kiner, Mr. McCarver.
Same here, Fran. It's been fun.
It really has. It really has. It's always a pleasure. Of course, the Mets, I've been pretty fortunate since I came over here 4 years ago. They've been a great club. Great club. And it's been great going to Shea Stadium, a place where it's great to watch a ball game. And the crowds, I mean, every night the place was rocking.
It's still hard to believe in the climate that's in the Northeast that a club on just a turnstile count could draw over 3 million fans. Just a tremendous, as you see, a very fine pitch by Tunnell. A little comeback fastball gets Howard Johnson. That is probably the most difficult pitch for a left-hander when that fastball from the right-hander tails back right at the knees and catches that inside corner. Just really tough to pull the trigger.
So 1 man down, and the batter will be Mookie Wilson. Once again, top of the 6th inning here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Big crowd on hand. The Cardinals will go over 3 million.
They did today.
Yeah, Mets are over 3 million. Of course, the Mets, in a way, do it the hard way because they have almost every game on television. There's a shot in the center field base hit off the bat of Mookie Wilson. He's now 2 for 3, and that's the 3rd hit of the game for the Mets. By the way, I don't want to forget the people in New York that work so hard, our production team in New York that worked so hard on the pre- and post-game show. They did a great job, and I had a lot of fun again this year doing those shows. And a young lady, Kelly McDonald, a friend of ours, Jakes McDonald, his daughter did a great job working downstairs, and really, she did all the work. I just sat there. She brought all the players in.
You moved your lips, right?
That's exactly right. All those people do a great job in New York. Well, now the batter, Barry Lyons, who's 0 for 2, and he takes a pitch outside, ball 1. Mookie Wilson down on first base. He has a stolen base in this ball game.
Sports Channel hit a golf tournament just recently, didn't they?
Yeah, Bob Fenimore.
Bob Fenny.
He won it.
I'd like to check what handicap he used that day.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that before. Right, cheating. And there's an excellent hit and run. And Mookie was tricked. Great decoy down there at second base. Mookie hanging on at second base, and Barry Lyons on first.
Well, if you'll pardon the pun, that's a cardinal error by Mookie Wilson by not looking what happened behind him. You're supposed to pick that hitter up as you're running to second base. He did not. He checked the guys at second and short, and they gave him a little semi-deke. He did not know where the ball was. He could have walked into third base easily. You see him looking around. He doesn't know what happened. You saw Ozzie Smith give him the deke there. Mookie Wilson looking around, trying to find the ball. If you're in that situation, you have to try to pick up the third base coach. That's your only chance.
So the runners now are on first and second rather than first and third, and the batter, Mark Carrion. Mark is 0 for 1. He's also walked in this ball game. What a beautiful day here in St. Louis.
Good move by Barry Lyons going behind the runner. Lawless had cleared at second. Drove that ball in the right field. Good hitting.
Boy, that was an excellent hit and run. Talking about this numerous times on the Sports Channel cablecast. At one time, they wanted you to try to hit behind the runner, whereas about 5 years ago, they started saying, okay, just put the ball in play, hit it on the ground, hit it hard on the ground. Carrion takes inside. 3-0. By the way, top of the 5th inning at Tiger Stadium in Detroit, and the Blue Jays 2, the Tigers 1.
You see Cone warming in the bullpen now. David Cone for the Mets.
Bottom of the 7th inning in Montreal. The Expos 5, Chicago 4. I don't like that. Carrion takes a strike. 3-1. The Mets and the Montreal Expos fighting for second place.
John Morris in right field, playing a rather shallow right field for the major leagues in this day and age.
There's a base hit over to Sensei's head at third. Mookie Wilson scores easily as David Green gets the ball back in. And Mark Carrion with an RBI single. He's 1 for 2.
Here's a look at it. A high chopper. Sensi's no chance. Obviously, with the speed of Mookie Wilson, David Green just trying to keep the runners at second base and first to keep that double play alive with 1 out.
And the batter will be Kevin Elster. Highly publicized young player from Tidewater. Played this year, had a fine year in Tidewater.
Superlative year for the Tidewater Tides.
It's going to be tough. Rafi Santana sitting on the bench right now looking out at this kid, figuring that he's not going to be with the Mets next year.
Well, when you can't control something, all you can do is the best you can do. You can't, if you really start worrying about things like that, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
That's right. And he had his best year in the major leagues. We're talking about Santana. Had a fine year, but every team in baseball wants this kid who's batting, Elster.
Well, I don't see the Mets making any moves with Elster right now. It is always great for an organization or a manager to have the problem of having too many good players to put on the field at the same time. Having Mookie Wilson to back up or be the regular center fielder. Lenny Dykstra obviously can play every day. It's great to have 4 fine outfielders.
Unless you wanted to afford fine outfielders.
Understood.
There's a chopper to short. They're going to go for the 2. 6, 4, 3 double play, and that'll do it for the Mets here in the 6th. But they pick up a run, and after 5.5, it's 2-1 New York. Oh, excuse me. Well, there's Davy Johnson. If you just tuned in, he dropped a bomb here on the Mets today. I guess it had to be in the making, except, I mean, maybe during the week.
Well, certainly the writers and the media people, you know, they always want an answer. There was so much comment about it. Davy Johnson, probably at the worst time in his life, bringing to light the fact that he was hoping that he would get an extension. Certainly not the right time of year to do it. Frank Cashen was very disturbed, and rightly so, I feel. Writers have been asking constantly Davy Johnson and Frank Cashen what's happening. So I guess Davy made a decision that he was going to do something today.
Yeah, they were both pretty candid on an interview we had here on Sports Street. And Davy said that he would have stepped down after this season, but Frank wanted him to stay for next year. I asked him if it's an irrevocable decision, and Frank said, as of right now, Davy wants out after next year, but who knows? That can change also.
Well, as I said earlier, this is the worst time of year to have to try to make a decision like that. After a few months of the offseason, attitudes and thinking change.
And Lance Johnson, the batter for the Cardinals, he's 1 for 2 in this ball game. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning, 2-1. The Mets on top of the Cards. He makes contact with Barry Lyons. That happens when a new guy comes in the major leagues with that big backswing. Nice play by Aguilera. Scored 1-3, 1 down.
When you don't know that hitter has that kind of a backswing, you kind of stay in your normal position. Once he whacks you, though, you're going to fudge back a little.
Yeah, usually they warn you. The hitter will say, watch my backswing. And here comes Doug DeCinces. Yeah, Weber's right. Oh, good. What you do as a catcher, what he says he sends you back about 5 feet, and the guy on first base steals second.
Nobody would do that to a catcher, would they?
No. Popped up, shallow right field. Keith Miller being called off by Mookie Wilson, and Mookie makes the catch, 2 down.
Doug DeCinces certainly not in an enviable position, being traded to the Cardinals. Certainly Terry Pendleton has a lock on the position. DeCinces, as you said earlier, Fran, with a lot of back problems in his career.
I don't think they'll sign him for next year.
Well, that's what I'm trying to talk about. We might be watching the end of it.
That's right. And the batter now, Steve Lake. Two men out. One of the reasons the Angels get rid of DeCinces is they had a buyout clause if they kept him for the whole year. So they released him with about a week and a half left of the season, and of course the Cardinals picked him up. 1-1 on Lake. Fouls the ball off. 1-2. Everything is quiet here in St. Louis now. It's not cold enough for that guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not dealing with a full deck here, and I'm telling you, it's cold.
1-2 pitch. Fly ball center field. Lenny Dykstra is there. Mookie Wilson backing up the play. And that'll do it for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the 6th. 3 up, 3 down. At the end of 6 as Ralph joins Rusty. It's a 2-1 game in favor of New York.
Remind you folks that on Thursday, October 8 at 10:30, it'll be the New York Islanders versus the LA Kings. And on Friday at 7:30, it'll be the Devils versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. And speaking of Pittsburgh, one of the great players in the history of the Pittsburgh organization, old number 4 Hall of Famer, Ralph Kiner.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of Penguins.
Number 9, Gary Jeffries.
We have a pinch hitter here right now. Jeffries is going to get an opportunity to hit now for Rick Aguilera.
Dave Cohen throwing in the bullpen for the Mets will be their next pitcher. Jeffries hitting .600 in the major leagues. And he goes after the first pitch, hits it out to the shortstop, Oquendo, and throw to first base and out. So 1 pitch and 1 away as Lee Tunnell works here in the top of the 7th. Jeffries still bothered by that sore knee, and he is the number 1 prospect for the New York Mets.
Center fielder Lenny Dykstra.
That'll bring up Lenny Dykstra. Lenny is 1 for 1 in this ball game. He also has sacrificed and walked. Dykstra's double back in the first inning, tying a Mets record, and now he grounds out to the second baseman, where Lawless makes the play to first base. 2 pitches and 2 men away. Rick Aguilera, back in the 5th inning, retired the side on 3 pitches. And now Tunnell with 2 pitches and 2 men away. That'll bring up Keith Miller.
Second baseman Keith Miller.
Miller 0 for 3 today. 2 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. Mets leading 2-1. And the pitch is strike call. It's strike 1. Bill Dolly throwing in the bullpen for the Cardinals. Mets have to win this ball game and 1 more to split with the Cardinals this year. Breaking ball for a ball, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Manager Whitey Herzog wisely making sure that all his bullpen is going to be ready for this playoff. Tomorrow he's going to share the time between 2 pitchers. Certainly is using the bullpen today.
And Tunnell with another breaking ball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. There's the White Rat.
Affectionately called the White Rat.
He was with the Mets 1 year as a third base coach and a fine third base coach. He also worked in the minor league organization, developed a lot of great players for the Mets. Outstanding baseball man. And that count, 3 balls, 1 strike.
There's nothing very wishy-washy about the White Rat, that's for sure. If he's got something to tell you, he's going to tell you.
Actually cost him his job with the Mets. He told M. Donald Grant, who was sort of running the ball club at the time, to take a hike.
Something about the sun and it wasn't shining, if I'm not mistaken.
And so Whitey was a fellow that took the hike. Although Whitey was certainly right in that spot because he was talking about a baseball player. And he proved to be right about him. 3-2, and Miller takes inside for ball 4. So the Mets have a base runner with 2 men away, and Dave Magadan will be the batter.
First baseman Dave Magadan.
Magadan 0 for 3. Mets have 2 runs on 5 hits. The Cardinals have 1 run on 2 hits. Aguilera leaving the ballgame on the winning side, a chance to have a record this year of 11-3. marked the highest win total he's ever had in the major leagues. Previous 2 years, he won 10 ball games. Paid crowd here today, 46,845. The Cardinals now have drawn 3,030,232. And a hit and run play. The runner going with a pitch, and Miller will go to third as Green gets it back into the infield, and the Mets with runners at first and third and 2 men out as Magadan comes up with a nice base hit to left field.
This is basically your run and hit. Magadan, good stroke to left field. Miller was trying to steal that base. Magadan just went with that pitch. Certainly is one of the better inside-out strokes in baseball. Miller goes easily into third base.
Bill Robinson running the ball club today for the New York Mets.
Coming into this, go ahead, Ralph.
I was going to say Howard Johnson, the batter.
Coming into this game, every time that Magadan has had an opportunity to start at first base, he's had 6 starts there. Coming into this game, he was hitting .667 as a first baseman. That's incredible.
Right here we have Howard Johnson hitting with runners at first and third. He has 98 runs batted in, so he has a shot to get to that magical 100 RBI mark.
Needs a good gapper here with an unusual hop off the wall because Magadan does not have good speed.
Either that or one out of the ballpark. He has 36 home runs. This ball hit hard down the line. He might get it. Coming in to score from third is Keith Miller. Magadan is being waved in. Now he's being held up at the last minute, and he comes up with only his 99th run batted in. So Howard Johnson with a double, and now just 1 RBI away from that magical 100 RBIs.
Well, it's an off-speed pitch, and he rips it right down the line, just fair. Had he gotten a little more of a bad hop down in that corner, Morris played the ball very well. Made a decent throw into the cutoff man. Sam Palazzo, knowing that Magadan's speed was not the best. See Howard coming around. Knows he's got the double. See if he checks that runner out. He's a little disappointed because he thought he might have had a chance for Magadan to score on that ball. He was well aware of the fact that Magadan was his 100th RBI. And Mookie Wilson is going to get an intentional walk here.
The intentional walk will load up the bases and bring up Barry Lyons. Howard Johnson picking up his 12th run batted in against the Cardinals this year. That was his 21st 2-base hit. And now with a walk to Mookie Wilson, the bases are loaded, and the batter will be Barry Lyons. Barry with a base hit and 3 at-bats, a hit-and-run base hit back in the 6th inning. David Cohn coming in from the bullpen will be the Mets' next pitcher. So Barry Lyons stepping in the batter's box. Mets leading by a score of 3-1. They have 7 hits now to the Cardinals 2, and the first pitch ball 1.
Mets trying to keep pace with the Montreal Expos, who, as of our last report, were ahead 5-4 against the Chicago Cubs today.
Montreal and the Mets tied for second place. Mets have never finished lower than second with Davey Johnson as their manager. This is his 4th year. And he has a record of 386 wins, 260 losses in his managerial career.
But as they say, you have to have some horses to win a horse race. And the Mets have definitely given Davey Johnson an outstanding club to work with. Not taking anything away from Davey Johnson.
Davey with a winning percentage of .598, the best ever in the Mets history. And that pitch is high in the count. 3 balls, no strikes. Davey Johnson with the best record of any manager in baseball in his 4-year career in the majors. 3 balls, no strikes, and now a strike called by the home plate umpire, Charlie Williams. On deck batter for the Mets Mark Carrion. That's ball 4, and it will force in a run. So a run batted in for Barry Lyons as Tunnel walks in. Dave Magadan.
You've seen it happen many times. The manager makes a decision. He's going to walk the bases loaded because they have that open base. Lee Tunnel throws 4 out of the next 5 pitches to be balls and runs in.
So the Mets now leading by a score of 4-1, and Mark Carrion, the batter, and that ball hit foul. Mark with a base hit and a run batted in. Had a high chopper over the head of DeCinces, the third baseman, for his first Major League RBI.
That ball was a shot down that line. Howard Johnson had to bob and weave down there at third base to get out of the way.
And Carrion takes a breaking ball. Strike 2. Carrion with 89 runs batted in at Tidewater this year, where he batted .312.
Carrion being noted as a pull hitter. I'm a little surprised to see them give them as much of the hole at shortstop as they are. Oquendo playing up the middle a little bit. DeCinces is right down the third baseline.
And the outfield straight away. Breaking ball again. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And you see that big gap at third base between the Oquendo and DeCinces.
Cool afternoon here, but a lot of sunshine.
Not much up in this booth, though, Ralph. I'll tell you that much. I'm shivering.
It's cold up here. Little chopper out to the shortstop, Oquendo. He guns at the first base and gets his man, and that retires the side. But the Mets get 2 runs on 2 hits. 3 men were left on base. The score at the end of 6.5 innings. The Mets 4 and the St. Louis Cardinals 1. On the mound for the New York Mets.
David Cone with a 5-6 record. He's been in 96 in the 3rd innings, given up 86 hits, walked 44, struck out 65. He does not have a save on the season. Has an opportunity, though, right now to get one.
So David Cone taking over for Rick Aguilera. Aguilera working the first 6 innings, gave up 1 run on 2 hits. The run was unearned on a pass ball. Make that on an error by the left fielder Carrion. And Rick Aguilera struck out 2 strikeouts coming back in the 2nd inning. His first batter will be John Morris. Morris batting for the first time. And in the bullpen, walking now to the dugout, is Bill Dolly, who will be the next St. Louis Cardinal pitcher. Morris hitting .268, and the first pitch is strike call. Morris with 3 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Morris from Freeport, New York, and the pitch is hit high in the air to shallow left center field. Elster back there to make the call and the catch.
Today is one of those days that all outfielders and infielders hate. There's not a cloud in the sky.
Baseman Jim Lindemann.
It's a crisp, cool day. When that ball gets up there, it's tough to see it. There have been some bad jumps by the outfielders today, but because of that reason.
And you're looking at downtown St. Louis right there with a beautiful arch in the background over the
nice shot, Billy Webb. That's a good shot.
Gateway to the west. Cone now working to Jim Lindemann. He takes a called strike. Lindemann 0 for 2 in the game. And the line drive foul down in the Mets bullpen area. Strike 2 the count.
When this season started, the Cardinals were very high on Jim Lindemann. He had some bad injuries, tore some leg muscles. I think he hurt his hand once. Just had a season full of injuries.
And it was because of him that the Cardinals made a trade that so far backfired. There's a pitch for a ball, 1-2. Andy Van Slyke going to the Pittsburgh Pirates along with Mike LaValliere and Mike Dunn, 3 outstanding players for Pittsburgh this year for Tony Pena. And
Understood.
they did it because of Lindeman.
Certainly the Pirates are very pleased with that move.
And a swing and a miss as Cohn goes to this curveball and picks up his first strikeout.
David Cohn over the top. We talk a lot about David Cohn liking to drop down and throw that side-arm slider to right-handed hitters. Occasionally a fastball from there. Certainly that breaking ball you just saw is just an outstanding curveball. And when he's on top, he throws some really good ones around.
He has an outstanding breaking ball. He was acquired for Ed Hearn, who ended up on the DL with a bad back for Kansas City. Now the batter is David Green. Green 0 for 2. And the curveball hit foul down the right side. It'll be out of play. David Green traded to San Francisco and now back with the St. Louis Cardinals. And the question is, would you trade Jack Clark for Jose Uribe? That is what turned out, as the players in that Jack Clark trade are all gone with the exception of Jose Uribe as far as the Giants are concerned. Dave LaPointe, David Green.
Giants had made one very successful trade like that when they traded Vida Blue. Vida Blue went to Kansas City, I believe, from the San Francisco Giants in return for about 4 or 5 players. It was a very successful trade for them.
Also in that trade was Gary Racich, who is in Japan now. And that ball almost got Cohn. Good play by Miller, and he throws it away. But David Cohn, lucky to get out of that without really being decapitated.
Watch his, I'll tell you, his reaction on this one. It was real close. It hit the, he's pointing on the bill of the cap. He moved after the ball went by him. And here it is. Boom. Get the head out of the way. Wow. Just ticked the brim of the cap.
Boy, that could have been serious. Good play on it by Keith Miller to get to it after it was hit right through the middle.
Well, you see him smiling right there, but you can bet the inside of his body's not smiling right now. That shook him up a little.
A few extra beats in that heart, boy.
Definitely a flutter.
Now the batter will be Jose Oquendo, who takes for ball 1. Oquendo 0 for 2 in the game. Runner at first base, 2 men out. This ball ripped down the right field line, but foul.
Y'all were talking earlier in the game, Ralph, about Whitey Herzog and his conversation about expanding his roster to 25 people for the World Series. Be interesting to see what develops there. All major league clubs, the past 2 seasons, no one has gone to that 25th player.
And a breaking ball. 1 ball now 2. Be interesting to see whether or not Whitey does it. One thing about Whitey, he knows how to get pressed, doesn't he?
He's surely going to get some on that one.
And a pitch called a strike, and it's 2-2. One time Oquendo gave up hitting left-handed, but now he has that Rod Carew stance and has done very well as a switch hitter. Good curveball, and Oquendo is called out on strikes. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left at first. The score at the end is 7. The Mets 4 and the St. Louis Cardinals 1. Well, the new left fielder is Kurt Ford. He will be batting in the 9th position in the batting order, and the new pitcher in the game, Bill Dolly. Dolly with a record of 5-7.
The Cardinals now play left field, number 27, Kurt Ford.
Dolly was down and out, having pitched a while with Houston. Was traded to the White Sox, who released him from spring training. Looked like his career might be over. All of a sudden, he's going to be pitching in the playoffs.
Dolly became the 3rd player in the history of the All-Star game to start a career in the minors in that same year and pitch in the All-Star game. The other 2 were Don Newcomb and Don Schwall. And his first batter breaking high for ball 1. Kevin Elster, batting for the 4th time, is 0 for 3 in today's ball game. And the fastball foul back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Some unusual hats here from the Cardinal fans.
Back on May 28th, Dolly broke 11-game losing streak when he defeated Atlanta. He was released by the Astros, signed by the White Sox, traded to St. Louis.
He wasn't released by the White Sox in spring training. Somehow I had that in my mind. I could be wrong.
True. Dolly, the year he made the All-Star team, had a record of 11-4 with 5 saves for Houston in 60 ball games. He won his last 8 decisions. Kind of a roller coaster career when you start out like that and get released.
Normally that has something to do with injuries, and you give up on a guy sometimes, a little determination can get him right back.
And a good curveball.
Kevin Elster will not get a chance to get back. He's going to take that lumber to the dugout. Good curveball. Elster pulling off.
That brings up David Cohn.
That's a long walk here in St. Louis, too. From home plate to that dugout takes forever.
You know where I used to hate it was in Chicago. It was a long walk back to the dugout in Chicago. That's when strikeouts were really considered a disgraceful event. Nowadays, it's part of the game. Receiver Rob Deere, look at that distance there. Rob Deere set a new American League strikeout record. Has a chance to break Bobby Bonds' strikeout record of 189.
That's a lot of Ks.
A lot of lumber hauled back.
Another ball in the dirt by a catcher.
1 ball, 1 strike as Dolly works to David Cohn. Mets leading 4-1. 1 man out, top of the 8th inning, and Montreal won their ball game 5-4 over the Cubs. So the Mets have to win here today to keep in a tie with Montreal for second. Ground ball to the first baseman Lindemann. 2 men away.
Center fielder Lenny Dykstra.
That'll bring up Lenny Dykstra.
Some National League scores here for you. Ralph just told you. Montreal 5-4 over the Cubs. Another final in Houston. Houston beat Cincinnati 6-4. Philadelphia's at Pittsburgh tonight. Atlanta's in San Francisco later. And Los Angeles will be playing San Diego later tonight.
And the Mets leading 4-1 here as Dykstra fouls off his first pitch. Dykstra with a double his first time up to tie a Mets record for the most doubles in the season. Joel Youngblood and Felix Mian with 37, and now Dykstra joins them. And a pitch for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Called a strike. 1-2.
Lots of shadows in this St. Louis ballpark once the game gets underway. This time of year, the shadows out in right field come across toward left. Will certainly be a factor in any day games played. I don't think there are any scheduled for the playoffs, though. Are there, Ralph?
1 day.
1 day game?
1 day game.
I don't know if it's scheduled here in St. Louis. You see those shadows? Can't even see that right fielder. He's lost.
Yeah, this time of year that sun gets low on the horizon, and so the shadows really get in early. 1-2. Dykstra takes a curveball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The record for the most doubles in a season, 67. Earl Webb, Billy Webb's father, at 67 back in 1931, the year that Billy was born. Joe Medwick, 1936, had 64 doubles. That's the National League record.
What was the most you had, Ralph, in a year?
I imagine around 30.
Yeah?
This ball hit out to deep right center. Might break the record if it gets in there. It is caught. Lance Johnson taking an extra base hit away from Lenny Dykstra, and that ends the inning. Fine running play. The Mets go in order to score. At the end of 7.5 innings, the Mets 4, the Cardinals 1. Just for the record, we better straighten out that Earl Webb was not the father of Bill Webb, because we don't need to answer any mail on that one. Just a little fun with our director, Bill. Might have been the grandfather, but no relative at all. We're going to the bottom of the 8th inning. Mets leading by a score of 4-1. Ralph Kiner with Rusty Staub and Fran Healy coming your way, and our last broadcast on Sports Channel. And as you guys were talking about, 75 games on Sports Channel, and I think that our fans out there in the audience have seen some great ball games on this cable station.
Certainly have, Ralph. It's been an exciting year. Certain disappointments now at the end of the season, not winning. But the excitement as you see Randy Myers warming down in the bullpen, the excitement of 1987, I don't think anybody's going to forget.
Tom Lawless to lead it off for the Cardinals, and the first pitch by David Cohn, foul away, strike one. Bert Ford is the on-deck batter. Lawless 0 for 2 today. He has had some kind of a frustrating season.
He was 1 for 19 coming in. That is a frustrating year. Another ball was fouled off. I don't think that has to be a record. That has to be the fewest at-bats for any person who has been on a roster for the full season and not been injured.
Certainly the fewest hits, I would think. 1 for 21. Gee. And the pitch by Cohn, a breaking ball, so the count at 1-2. Two strikes. Cohn goes to the curve, and this one pops up to the second base side, caught by Keith Miller. One away. That'll bring up Kurt Ford. Ford batting for the first time.
Left fielder Kurt Ford.
Ford hitting .286 for the year with 3 home runs, 26 runs batted in. That's leading 4-1. 4 runs on 7 hits. The Cardinals 1 run on 3. And the pitch is a called strike.
David Cohn showing just a tremendous curveball today, Ralph. Very consistent with it.
There it is again. And it's got some spin on it.
Good tight bite. Staying on top of the ball. What a break it was for the New York Mets to get a young pitcher of his caliber. Ed Hearn, as we said earlier, had a fine season for the Mets, but you have to give to get. And the way it turned out, Ed Hearn wound up missing most of the season with a bad back, and David Cohn was out himself with that busted hand. Certainly impressed everyone in the Met organization.
Tries the curveball again, 1-2. He has a major league arm, there's no doubt about it. Mets acquired his services from Kansas City. He was 8-4 at Omaha last year. He did appear in the lineup for Kansas City, but had no record. And he goes to the fastball. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
It says Eastern Division champs on that pennant.
What took him so long?
Waste no time.
This city, we were talking about this in the way over, certainly merchandises baseball so well. Just about everybody in this ballpark wearing Cardinal red.
Well, certainly the people that own this organization have a lot of contact with merchandising, the Anheuser-Busch people.
Jack Buck in the pregame ceremonies when they awarded prizes to the 3 millionth fan. said everybody wore red out here in the playoffs with the San Francisco Giants, so you can't get in the ballpark. And the strike call off the fastball. Ford called out on strikes.
Third strikeout for
Center
Cole.
fielder Lance Johnson.
There you see the Hall of Famer Jack Buck, the announcer for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Mike Shannon to his right, and Colin Jarrett works in their department.
Jack inducted into the Baseball Broadcasters Hall of Fame at Cooperstown this year. First pitch to Johnson, out of the strike zone, ball 1. Lance Johnson, the center fielder. Ground ball to shortstop. Elster handles it. Throw to first base just in time. And the Cardinals go in order. The score at the end of 8. The Mets 4 and the St. Louis Cardinals 1.
Back here at Busch Stadium, we're going to give you the American League scores here. It's all tied up, top of the 7th. Toronto at Detroit. The final, Milwaukee over Boston, 8-4. Another final, New York 6, Baltimore 2. What a terrible year for Baltimore. Bottom of the 3rd, California Angels 5, Cleveland Indians 1. Everything else is tonight. Minnesota at Kansas City, Seattle at Texas, Oakland and Chicago.
And here at Busch Memorial Stadium, the Mets are leading by a score of 4-1 as we go to the top of the 9th inning, and Keith Miller will lead it off for the Mets. Bill Dawley, the pitcher for the Cardinals, the 3rd pitcher used by Whitey Herzog. Miller 0 for 3 with a walk and a run scored. The first pitch, ball 1.
A lot of happy people in red out here today, Ralph. Lots of smiles.
Anticipating the opening of the playoffs on Tuesday night here in St. Louis. That pitch a ball, so it's 2 balls, no strikes.
Talking before about the marketing of the St. Louis Cardinals, Mike Rorty, who heads up most of the marketing for Anheuser-Busch, obviously one of the top-notch people in the country in that area, has lended into make the Cardinals themselves probably one of the most sought-after advertising teams as far as someone in this area. Just tremendous marketing abilities.
Mike was out here at the ball game last night. As you look at a strike call, that's 3-1. Cardinals set a record for attendance on the road this year, although the Mets have a chance to break that record. Line drive, base hit to center field for Keith Miller. Miller picking up his first hit of the game. And the Mets have a runner on first base with no one out, and Dave Magadan coming up. Dave 1 for 4 today with a run batted in. Howard Johnson on deck, and he might have a shot at getting that 100th RBI right here in his next at bat. Mets leading 4-1. There goes the runner. And the pitch is fouled away.
They cleared shortstop again, which is very surprising to me. Magadan, who hits the ball to left field quite a bit. Oquendo not thinking very good there. He was covering again. Last time up, Magadan hit a shot by shortstop when it was a run and hit. Magadan trying to pull that ball, though. He took a pretty hefty swing at it.
And the pitch back to Magadan, looped into center field. Lance Johnson, the center fielder, makes the catch. And Miller back to first. And that'll bring up Howard Johnson. Johnson doubled his last time up to drive in a run, his 99th of the year.
Fans in St. Louis certainly don't have a great appreciation for Howard Johnson. I don't think there's a more booed player in St. Louis.
He gets more boos than Keith Hernandez.
Yes, he does.
What was the great line that I think Dave Kingman said it? He gets booed in 4 different cities. There goes the runner, and Miller with another stolen base. He is some sort of base stealer.
Keith Miller, that's his 8th stolen base since he's come to the Mets. Obviously, he hasn't had much of an opportunity, but when he has certainly burned up the base paths.
Now Howard Johnson with his chance at 100 RBIs, a runner in scoring position, and he can answer those boos very nicely right here.
And Howard Johnson knows exactly what's going on right now. Trust me.
He takes that pitch for ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. Howard with 12 runs batted in against the Cardinals this year.
And they're going to walk him intentionally.
So Howard will have to work on that 100th RBI tomorrow.
Some of the fans, knowing what the situation is, are actually applauding this move. I don't think Whitey Herzog is doing it with any intent other than to help his ball club. But some of the fans that are abreast of the fact that Howard Johnson needs one more RBI for 100 started cheering when they put the 4 fingers up. Man, that's being tough on a guy, Ralph. I'm telling you.
That's mean.
Right fielder Mookie Wilson.
So runners at first and second and 1 man out. They set up the double play, but a tough man to double coming up, Mookie Wilson. Mookie 2 for 3 today. Mookie was walked intentionally back in the 7th inning, and Lee Tunnell, right after walking the bases loaded on the intentional walk, walked Barry Lyons to force in a run. And the strike call. Mookie hitting an even 300 for the year. Another strike call, strike 2.
See a nice tailing fastball just on that outside corner. I had 2 times in my career, Ralph, on the last day of the season, I was either going to hit 300 or not by what I did that day.
And obviously you did get your 300.
Well, I was 2 for 3. Twice I got it, 1 time I didn't.
Really?
Yes. I hit 299. 299 in 76, my first year with Detroit.
I think one of the great stories, Ted Williams had a 400 season. This ball fouled off if he did not play in a doubleheader the last day of the year. And he did play in the doubleheader, and he went 6 for 8 in the doubleheader to hit 406, the last man to hit 400 in Major League Baseball.
Gene Mauch, in my first year with the Expos, told me that he wanted me to be a 300 hitter. He said he was going to take me out of the game if I went 0 for 2 in the last game. I had hurt my elbow. I had been hit by a pitch in my right elbow in the first game in the series, had some pretty weak hacks in the second game. And after striking out my first time up, I got a couple of hits, so he let me finish the game. It was nice. I loved it.
Not bad at all. What a way to finish the season. And another foul ball as that ball is fouled off Steve Lake. Another story on the other side of that coin.
Boy, he's in pain right now.
Ken Griffey sat out the last day of the season. Bill Madlock went 4 for 4 for the Cubs and won the batting title.
You're going to see that ball coming down. Looks like it might have hit him on the ankle, the back ankle. Boy, what a weird foul off that was. He's gimping around, too. I'll tell you, I've always believed in playing. That's why I said earlier I'm a little surprised that some of the players in the Mets deciding not to play. It's always a shock to me when someone has the opportunity to go out there and they're healthy and they don't do it. Gary Carter's got his jacket on backward.
Ground ball to third, knocked down by the Sensei, and he has no play. The bases are loaded. It is being charged as an error. So the Cardinals have made their 3rd error in this game.
Sensei's not too used to this carpet. I guarantee you this is a factor. Ball comes off the carpet onto that mud. That's when it takes some irregular hops. You see him looking down there. A little disappointed in everything.
So for the second time, Barry Lyons has a chance at a grand slam home run. He had one earlier this year. And he takes the first pitch, strike 1. Lions walk with the bases loaded in the 7th to pick up a run batted in. He's 1 for 3 in this game. Single to right field. And the breaking ball swung on a miss, strike 2.
Good curve and a good location by Dawley. Barry Lyons now has to make up his mind whether he's going to take that big swing or make some contact. You got the bases loaded, 2 strikes, no balls. You got to make some contact if possible.
Goes to the curveball, misses with it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A new Grand Slam record for home runs in a single season set this year. Mattingly of the Yankees getting his 6th. The old record was 5. Jim Gentile and Ernie Banks, 5 in one season. And this ball fouled away.
The Mets themselves have set a record for Grand Slams in a season with 7 this year. There have been a lot of statements about why there have been so many more home runs this year. In my own personal opinion, it's the ball. I don't care what anybody says, the ball is jumping out of the ballpark.
There's no doubt about it being extremely live. And the fastball inside, 2-2.
Dolly wanted that pitch. Just tailing inside. That's a very close pitch.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Bases loaded. And a line drive to left field. Over there to dive for it, the left fielder Kurt Ford. He can't get it. It goes on by. 3 runs will score on the hit as Lyons goes into second. And the Mets now lead it by a score of 7-1 as Barry Lyons gets 3 RBIs.
They call baseball a game of inches. It certainly is. Difference between an out and a double with 3 RBIs. I mean, we're talking close. Ford relaying the ball in with Mookie Wilson's speed. Absolutely no chance. Just trying to make sure he gets it into the infield. Stop Lyons from maybe trying to get to third base. So him diving for that ball. You leave your feet and you don't catch it, especially on the turf, you're in trouble.
Now the batter, Mark Carrion, and he takes the first pitch, strike 1. Mets leading 7-1, and the pitch back or strike call, strike 2.
For a lot of the St. Louis fans, that was the last nail in the coffin today. People starting to get up and walk out of the stadium. It's been a little sparse here anyway in the last couple of innings. That sent a few more people to their cars.
And the fastball hit the right field, a long run for the right fielder John Morris. He makes the catch deep in the corner, and Lyons cruises over to third on the out.
Shortstop, Kevin Elster.
That'll bring up Kevin Elster. Kevin 0 for 4 today. Everybody, with the exception of the pitchers, had a base hit, except Kevin Elster. Mets have 7 runs on 9 hits. Cardinals have 1 run on 3. And this ball hit out to center field. Lance Johnson is there, and he makes the play, and that'll do it. Mets get 3 runs on 2 hits. There was 1 error and 1 man left on third. The score at the end of 8.5 innings, the Mets 7, the St. Louis Cardinals 1. Now to the bottom of the 9th inning, the Mets leading by a score of 7-1. Keith Hernandez cleaning the carpet. Keith did not play in either of the first 2 games of this series. Roger McDowell having...
Leading off, third baseman Doug.
You got to really be alive with McDowell on the bench.
I'll tell you, anything can happen. Anything.
Check out your shoes for the hot foot. Is loose. Here in the 9th inning, it'll be Doug DeCinces to lead it off for St. Louis, followed followed by Steve Lake and then John Morris. On the mound, David Cohn, a chance to pick up his first save of the year. And the first pitch hit in the air to left field. Mark Carrion, the left fielder, and he puts it away. Carrion making an error earlier in this ball game to set up the Cardinal run. Now the batter will be Steve Lake. Lake batting for the second time. Flied out to center field his first time up.
It's Roger McDowell. He and Hernandez messing around down on that edge of the dugout there.
And Cohn starts off with a fastball for ball one.
The end of a season, it's a tough thing when you're not winning. It's great to go on to the playoffs, but everybody's going to... Boy, that one's coming right at us. You flinched pretty good that time, Ralph. I was cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
You know, I was going with you.
Tell me about it.
That was a tough one, folks. I'm telling you, that was coming right at us.
It's a pretty good distance there, too. From the broadcast booth to home plate. This ball hit deep to left field. It's way back. Carrion at the edge of the warning track, and he makes the play. So Cohn picking up his first two outs here in the bottom of the ninth inning, on the verge of picking up his first save, and the batter will be John Morris. Morris popped up to the shortstop his first time up. Morris, the first man that Cohn pitched to back in the seventh inning.
As I was saying, Ralph, when the team splits up after a season is over, that camaraderie is just missing. It's missing from their lives for about 4 or 5 months until spring training starts again. A lot of these guys live in different parts of the country. They'll miss each other. They truly will.
And the fastball called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. I know you can't wait for the season to end, and then about a month after it's over, you can't wait for it to start again. Good curveball.
Some of these guys actually might not have the opportunity to say hello again as teammates. A lot of statements being made about some changes being made on the Mets to be seen. Just don't know what's going to happen this winter. Obviously, Frank Cashin and Joe McIlvain, Al Harrison, and the leaders of the Mets will be making some hard decisions over the winter.
3-1, the count to John Morris. And the fastball fouled off. The 3-2 pitch, fastball hit to the first baseman Magadan, and he'll go to the bag, and that'll do it. So the Mets win it and keep pace with the Montreal Expos. Both teams now with identical records of 91 and 70. And the Mets tomorrow will have a chance to either finish second or third. So we'll be back with a wrap-up. Once again, the final score, it's the Mets 7 and the St. Louis Cardinals 1. The Mets won it by a score of 7-1. The Mets now in a tie with the Montreal Expos, who also won today. Right now, let's go down to Fran Healy and his special guest.
Okay, Ralph, kind of my special guest, Gary Carter. And Gary, Davey Johnson dropped the bomb today on the Mets. What's the reaction by the players?
Well, I think the reaction is a positive one. I mean, Davey has made the decision. I can understand his choice. It's his feeling. You know, he's had some friction with Frank throughout the course of the year. But, you know, there again, Davey has his life ahead of him, and he feels that this would be best for him and his family. And he wants to be happy. And I can understand that. But he says, listen, we went through a lot of adversity this year. We're going to come back and win it next year.
Did he tell the players in the clubhouse meeting?
No, he didn't bring it up to us then. Actually, I had talked to him personally yesterday, and he had mentioned it to me, but I didn't think he had made an actual final decision on it. Now it's just a matter that he's going to analyze the whole situation and kind of leave it in Frank's hands, because I think that there's still the open door. He'll come back, he'll manage next year, we win the whole thing, and then if he feels that he'd like to come back, I'm sure the door will be open for him to come back.
Okay, this year, right now, the Mets and the Montreal Expos, your old ball club, tied for second place. I mean, isn't it very important for the Mets to finish in second place?
It is to a lot of us, yes, because we feel that there's at least some prestige and some pride involved in the fact that we can finish above the Montreal Expos. I mean, they battled all year, and they've had a great season. But if they win and we win, then again, we're still tied. But I think it's important that we at least finish in a tie for second. But I don't know what Davey's going to do. I told him that I'd be available to play, and I think he wants to play all the regulars because the Cardinals are going to play all their regulars tomorrow to tune themselves up for Tuesday. So I'd like to see us go out there and win tomorrow's ball game, and it means a lot because I'd like to finish in front of the Expos. And you know, it was important to win today's ball game, the fact that the Expos had won too. So now we're tied going into the final day.
My guest has been Gary Carter talking about Davey Johnson and the New York Mets here in 1987. Now let's go back upstairs to Ralph and Rusty.
Okay, friend, thank you very much. Also, thank you, Gary Carter. And the Mets winning by a score of 7-1. Rusty, the Mets stayed in the tie with Montreal, and Gary Carter just said that he thinks it's important to finish second. I've never understood why anybody would not want to finish as high as you can finish, and a lot of the Mets regulars did not play in either one of the ball games here in St. Louis.
Well, you know, as I stated earlier in the game, Ralph, I always felt like if you could play, you go out and play. That was just me. It surprises me that they would not want to go out and have a chance to improve their seasons and not only help the club come out second, but help their pitcher who's out there trying to win. A good game by Rick Aguilera, gets his 11th win. That's the most wins Rick Aguilera has ever had. Cone, his first save, a lot of pluses. The big hit by Lyons, a 3-run double. So some positive things for the Mets, planning for 1988 now.
Well, Mark Carrion got his first game-winning RBI. He led the International League in that department this year, and it was his bouncing ball over the head of Doug DeCinces that drove in the run to put the Mets up by a score of 2-1. The Mets scored first in the ball game, and then they saw it tied up in the bottom of the first inning. Then the Mets went ahead to take the lead by a score of 2-1, then added 2 more runs in the 7th inning, making it 4-1, and then the 3 runs by Barry Lyons, the catcher, on a drive, a double to left field that scored 3 runs. The bases were loaded at the time. Interesting part of the ball game, Howard Johnson with a chance to drive in 100 runs this year, got one of those RBIs that he needed. He's now at 99. He almost had a shot at the other as Magadan was rounding third base, but Sammy Palazzo held him up and didn't take the chance in scoring him.
Well, at that time in the game, you know, Palazzo felt like he was trying to win the ball game. He thought Magadan with his speed was not going to make it. He held him up. Howard Johnson has one more day to try for it, and I think he's going to have a chance to get it.
Well, that's it. That's the final score for today, 7-1. And we'd like to thank all the people that were with us here on Sports Channel, our last broadcast, all the people that helped us. It's really been fine broadcasting these 75 ball games for you on Sports Channel, and we're looking forward to next year. This is Ralph Kiner saying so long for Rusty Staub, Tim McCarver, and Fran Healy, and we're looking forward to next year's season, and we hope that you'll be with us right down the line. Once again, the final score, it's the New York Mets 7, the St. Louis Cardinals 1.